welcome along to the May Craft Along. This is our second session. We've got the mystery kit, and after a couple of full starts, I think we are good to go. If you're able to join me live, do please say hello in the comments, and if you've got any questions or crafting, you can drop them into the live chat and I'll be able to answer them on the video. If you are watching this later at your leisure, do say hello in the comments still, because I can still see them, and it'd be lovely to know who's watching. And again, if you've got any comments, any questions, just drop them in the chat, or find me on my Instagram or Facebook. I am Della. I'm Della by Design. You'll be able to find it with at Della by Design handle. I'm just going to wait for my other screen to upload. Let me see if I can find this. Oh no, because I'm not a subscriber. Oh, YouTube is not being kind to me today. We are learning. Right, let me see. There I am live. Excellent. So I can now see what you're seeing on a screen in front of me, which is handy. Slight delay, but it means I can see the comments coming up a bit easier. Oh, sorry for the bouncy camera. So yes, hopefully you can hear me. So this is the May Craft Along. So this is a day full of crafty workshops. I'm hosting three workshops all live on YouTube today. This is our mystery one, so no one knows what this design is. You'll be getting a little bit of a sneak peek through the tissue paper there. So if you're signed up to your own craft along kit at home, you will have a package like this in your crafty box, and if you've had a little sneak peek, you'd have seen what bits and pieces we have to make the card, or if you've, I say, been good, but you might have saved it until now to open with me. But yeah, so I'm going to show you what's inside the kit, and then I'll show you what the finished design is going to look like, and we'll make it together today. So if you've got the advanced kit, you also need your Pro Marker pen, which came in your kit. It's pastel yellow colour we're using. But also for this kit we'll need some sellotape or washi tape, if you'd rather, scissors, and some other pens as well, some other colours. You might want to add some extra colours as well, just the yellow, and some glue, anything for paper or card, and then the foam pads that are also in your kit. So shall we get started? I'm excited to show you, and I'll tell you a bit more about who I am and what this is all about. So let's open this up. So this is the advanced version of the kit. You might have the beginner's version instead. This is the advanced. There we go. So first things first, you can see the craft card blank and envelope. So we're making it, let me move it out of the way. We're making it on a craft card blank today. So this is lovely recycled craft. It's got a beautiful sort of texture in it as well from the recycled pulp. So logo on the back. There's our card blank, and let's see what we've got. So we've got some pink, some whites, we've got some embroidery thread, and we've got this very funky, again, donut shape with zigzag edges. Then we've got these beautiful cherry blossom stamped images, and we've got a lot of these. So I was using up some scraps, so I think if you've got the kit, you might have it stamped onto 3 lots of 2 cards, or 2 lots of 3 cards. Can't remember now. And a happy birthday with the cherry blossom stamped in the middle as well. So I wonder whether you can guess how that's all going to come together and what design we might be making. happy birthday card, obviously. If you've got any ideas of how these bits will interact together, I'm just going to give you a moment to have a think. You can add any suggestions into the comments. That'd be fab. I'll just give you a little bit of background of who I am while you're having a think about what this design could be. So I am Della. I've been running Della by Design, which is a small business I set up about 7 years ago now. And my aim is to sort of introduce adults into the world of papercraft and card making and scrapbooking, and sort of finding that little creative flair in other adults who dismiss the idea that they are not creative or they don't have time. Whereas so these structured kits that I make give you step-by-step instructions on how to create some beautiful handmade designs, and also these workshops again give you that excuse to leave the washing. You couldn't do any washing today anyway because it is pouring with rain here. To leave the washing, leave all the chores, and actually indulge in some quality craft time, and actually make with me, which is really fun with these events. So I'm not trying to do a really quick whizzy video like Instagram and YouTube would like me to do. This is a relaxed class. We're going to go at my pace, which I think is generally slower because I'm a bit of a perfectionist. So we will work through every step of this card. There's no sort of blue peter. This is one I made earlier. It's not going to go into time lapse at all. So you can actually make this card with me. So if you haven't got the craft along kit for this event today, then for a limited time this set on its own will be available to buy on my website. So you can buy the kits and then rewatch this video at your leisure, and craft along with me. So shall we see what the card is? So I wonder if you've had any ideas of how these might interlock or structured, what this donut might possibly do, and have a look. Here is the finished card. So we're using the cherry blossom to make like a wreath around the outside. I've got each end one raised up, so you get a lovely sort of cascade of cherry blossom around, and then these embroidery threads coming along here. So this is actually lots of my kits do have embroidery thread with them, but this one doesn't actually involve any sewing. You don't need to thread a needle. Hurrah! So yes, and a happy birthday in the middle. So that's what we're going to be making. I find I think with the lettering and stuff, it's got that kind of Japanese cherry blossom feel, which I did dig out some beautiful pictures online when I was thinking about giving you a little tease about what this design was going to be, but I decided not to. I thought I'd keep quiet. So let's get going. So this pastel yellow, which I think is really misleading as a pastel yellow. I mean, the colour of the packaging, the name pastel yellow, I mean, it's a beautiful colour in this context with the right colour tones, but I would not describe that as pastel yellow. They're normally quite good at naming their colours, but didn't quite hit with this one. So this is partly what I would suggest if any pen really, is to always test the colour on the card that you're going to be using. So not necessarily a scrap piece of paper, because different paper weights, different paper colour tones will give a different effect. So it's always good to test out the pro markers. Whenever I'm colouring something in here, I've got hundreds of pro markers tucked away next to me here, and I spend ages trying to finding the right colour for whatever project I'm doing, and I'll have a little bit of the actual card that I'm going to be using, and I'll just mark on it with all the different colours, and so that I know that I've got the right one. So something like this. So just taking a little bit on the side, and even at that point it'd be like, oh, that's not as yellowy as I thought it would be. but it's worth letting the pro markers dry for maybe 30 seconds, a minute, because sometimes the colour lightens slightly, so it can give you a different change. So let's start off with doing some colouring, I think. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to work on this kit from the advanced kit, and then at a certain point it will become the beginner's kit, and if you've got the beginner's kit you can step in at that point to make with us. Feel free, if you're watching this on replay, you can fast forward to when I've finished doing these. You'll see when I'm not colouring in, or just sit back, enjoy your cup of tea and watch me make these. So what I'm going to do on these first is, let's bring this back in so you can see, is what I call like a reverse colouring. So what I'm going to do is I'm leaving the flowers white, but I'm filling in all the space around, and I'm going to do this with, so these Pro Marker pens, they've changed the packaging, by the way. Have I got one to show you? Yeah, just within reach. Oh, that's actually a different change. So they changed hands. Like the company got bought out. So I think this is as far back as I've seen. I think it was Letraset for many years, and then Winsor & Newton bought the company and kind of changed the packaging, not drastically, but more black and white. And then once they've got settled, they completely changed the packaging, so they now look like this. But they've kept the colours the same, which is good. Which means you can be consistent depending on which one you got. But it does mean, I think as over a space of about 2 years, the packaging changed into 3 different ones. So that means there's a bit of a pick and mixed style. So that's what I was going to say. So they've got, all of them have got they're twin tips. So they've got 2 ends. Got this one, which is a nice point, and then the other side, which I'm going to use in a little bit, which is like a chisel and like a highlighter, which is good for covering larger areas. So I'm going to show you, I'm going to start off by just using the thin one, so I'm in control. And I'm going to start, I might just bring you down a little bit while I'm colouring. Actually zooming in. So I'm just going to get up to the edge of the black line and just fill in and I'm just going to make sure I've got like a bubble around the edge, so where we're going to cut it out. So the more colouring you do, the sort of less precise cutting out you'll be doing. So when I was designing this card with this cherry blossom, it was kind of like, I really wanted it to stand out as white cherry blossom, white flowers. And so the alternative was to be initially thinking I'd have to we'll be cutting out the flowers, but this is a nice way of having that effect, but without the fiddly cutting out. So so the card that we're using as well is the best card I've found for using Pro Markers. It's very smooth, it's got ever such a slight sheen to it, which stops the ink bleeding into the card. So on normal sort of photocopy of paper, these pens would go through a few sheets. So just here, I'm just going to dab into those bits in there. So, but this card, it has a nice balance between not bleeding and absorbing too much, but it does allow the ink to blend with other colours. We're not doing any blending today, but if you wanted to, you can do two colours next to each other quite quickly, because they do dry in about sort of 30 seconds to a minute. But in that initial bit, you can blend two colours together. So adding that, I think that's far enough away to make sure I'm happy that I've gone far enough out. That. And then I'll start doing this one. So we're going to do this for all 6 of them. And note that I'm not rushing in to do the pink on this one, just because I'm going to make sure that the yellow colour is dry before I introduce another colour, so it doesn't bleed. So what's beautiful about these alcohol-based markers, so there's different brands out there as well, but it's the alcohol that makes the difference. And what they do, they dry to a completely flat finish. So you know the old felt tip pens, you'd have to colour in a big section of sky, and you'd colour it and you'd do it in lines, so at least you could see the lines, but at least they were neat lines. But this, you can colour these however you like, but it will dry into sort of flat, smooth finish. I'll tell you a little story. I was selling these pens on their own in a pop-up shop, and they were labelled up as alcohol markers, and someone came over and was very interested in the alcohol markers, so I got called over to explain some more about how they work, and she was very excited to hear about them. So I sort of rushed over, so oh, got a crafter in the shop, I can explain all the pros of using these types of pens. And I started explaining, and then she quickly realised that actually she thought they were pens that had a secret capsule of alcohol, like a hip flask for teachers. I don't know. I was like, oh no, I just wanted to find out where the alcohol was. Like, yeah, it's not that, I'm afraid. Maybe we should start a new range of smuggling pens. Okay, so again, just going to make sure that it goes, I've gone out enough. And I'll do one more like this, and then I'm going to, because I've done quite a few of these over the last couple of weeks. So you're welcome to stay with the thin nib and to take your time, but I'm going to switch to using the chisel as I've built up my confidence with it. We'll see how it goes. So we've said that the pens, they blend and they dry. So what happens is, once the ink is dry, if you go over the same bit with the same colour, it doesn't then blend into it. It actually sits alongside. So what you could do is add another layer and create a shadow if you wished. So I do that on a few of my other designs. I'll go back and add a shadow the same colour, which is a lovely way of layering and adding depth and texture into them. However, what that does mean is that if you stop here, oh sorry, well, off camera, if you stop here, take a phone call, come back in 10 minutes and then go to start again, you will see the join of where the bits you were. So whenever you're doing a block of colour, basically it takes priority over everything else, which does annoy my husband somewhat. And I'm like, no, I have to do this. So that's why I'm, rather than sort of going from one side and then dabbing over there, I'm going around the image in one go. I'm not stopping and starting. So that means that the only drawing I've got is in one place. There we go. So that's those ones. So you can already see how the, if you can, on there, how the colours shifting. So slightly lighter and a flatter. Just all the pen lines disappear. So what I'm going to do now is switch to the chisel. Now, so this is a, oh, how can we describe it? A bit more daring because I need to switch between filling in large areas and doing the detail with the both ends without letting the ink dry. So do as much as I dare and flip over. This is like using pro markers is like the only time I recommend leaving the lids off. Especially if you're blending different colours together, it's worth having both the pens ready to pick up and go. Okay. If I don't talk, I can hear the rain coming down on the window next to me. I did look back through the videos for the last craft along event in March, and at one point it started snowing in March, so the weather has improved, but it's still not great here. And our next one is in July, so hopefully it will be sunshine for that craft along. There we go. I'll have to look back on the video because I think that's quicker. It feels quicker. I have to look back on the video, actually test that theory now, couldn't I? So again, using the chisel. So in the beginner's kit, these are all coloured and cut out for you. But you can always, if you want to, you can add colours. You can make it pink blossom. You can add more colours to them. Yeah, like one left. And also what I discovered relatively recently, since I've been using these pens for years, maybe a decade now, is that I assumed it was one pen in the middle, so you'd have one. If one end was running out, then you'd have the other end. Like if it was, the ink would go from one to the other. But actually, it's not. They stop. They're actually independent two pens. So if one runs out, the other one will still be fine. There we go. The lid's back on now. I'll put that to one side because that's the last one I did, and then I'm going to add the pink to these. So you can use any other pink pen or pencil for this. I am going to use this Pro marker, which is rose pink. And I've put this on there to remind me of something, and I don't remember what it was. Maybe it's to mark it as mine at the workshop. So I'm just going to add a little dab of pink into the centre of the flowers and then the tips of the buds. Put that down so you can see. So it doesn't require a lot, just a couple of light dots just to get a bit of colour. Onto each flower and then the buds. So I'm staying within the lines just by doing very light dabs, but you don't actually have to. You can be sort of an artistic circle of pink on each one, because the petals would be tinged slightly pink as well. Right, so let's organise the ones I've done. Those ones. Two more. There we go. Right, so that's all. Oh, that's not all the colouring. We got a little bit more to do. So on the happy birthday, what we're going to do is add a little sort of, say, halo or shadow of the pastel yellow around the outside of the flowers, and then the pink in the middle. Actually, I might start with the pink since I've got that out. So again, this is even smaller, so just a couple of dots just to give the indication of the pink centres. And then with the fine tip, it's going to go around the edge. Just draw a line. This can look really good on like sort of bigger stamped images. So you've got like a little girl pushing a teddy bear in a wheelbarrow, something like that. It's, if you don't want to colour in the full sort of a background or an image, just adding a real pale blue, if it's an outdoor scene, a real pale blue around the outside of the image, and have a really nice effect. That kind of hazy sky, but yes, it's easy to do and quite sort of therapeutic, because you can just switch off and go all the way around. So our next job, I'm going to lift you up a little bit. That's it. Oop. And then, right, we're going to cut these out. So it's sort of bubble cutting, so we're going to go around, roughly around the shapes. You don't have to be too precise. Just going to try and keep quite a fluid cut going, so you get nice smooth curves. Like that. So if you've got the beginner's kit, you'll have 6 of these all ready to go. We've just got a little bit of catching up to do. Can tell which ones I did with the chisel, which ones I didn't. A lot less colour on the ones that were just a fine tip. Two more to go. came in a bit tight there. So I'll just go and adjust it a little bit. Right, so all of this can be recycled. So let's move it over to one side. Okay. So let's bring the magic donut back. And then the embroidery thread. So the embroidery thread is already cut to size. So you'll have 3 pieces in what I've estimated to be the right length. So next we're going to add our embroidery thread onto our donut, which is why we've got the hole in the middle. So we're going to attach one end to the back. So this is where I'm going to use some washi tape. Hold in place. And then I'm going to hold it so that I can see the front, so otherwise it goes a little bit wonky. Add it to the first groove, hold it across the hole and just pinch it through and put it all the way back, and sort of keep it, doesn't have to be tight, but to keep it in position. And then it's your choice whether you want them all to come from the same point in the middle or just next to each other. But to be honest, the happy birthday covers up most of that anyway. Hold it across the hole, pinch it through. So, oh, I should have been less stingy with that. Well, either my calculations were very good, or I've given myself an extra one on there. So what I'm going to do is loosen it and then move that thread a bit higher up. I'm not really quite generous, but I've obviously calculated it just right. No worries. I did use quite a lot there, didn't I? So if I just move that up, that should give us enough. I get to show you how to swoop it again. So lay it across the hole, pinch from the back and bring it up. Lay and pinch. And then I'm just going to get a piece of washi tape ready. Oh, I should have had it ready. And fold it back through. And attach on the back so you can go over the others. So we're going to stick it all down, so not to worry if it's not secure enough on that. Okay, and then we're going to do the next one. So let's stick one end. I'm going to give myself lots of thread. Let's get the washi tape ready. It's like Christmas when you've got tape attached to the whole length of the table. Actually, they're quite big pieces, but never mind. start there on the back. So I think it might have been the angle that the zigzags happened, because that's got 6 and that's got 5. So plenty here. So I'm going to tape off the end and then snip off the excess. And then take the last piece. So if you want to change the design, obviously you don't have to use all of these ridges, or you could make more ridges and add to it. I was looking at like a dark pink and a pale pink thread as well. I'm trying to work out whether to have multiple ones on the same design, which probably means a lot more tape, but it would be very fun to have that option, so you can experiment. Push that down so it sticks in between it, but like I say, we're going to add some glue onto the back anyway. Right, there's our disc and our card blank. So make sure you got it the right way around, the logo on the back. Then we can add some foam tape to the back of the greeting. So in your kits you'll find some double-sided foam pads. So these just lift your design up. Actually, I'm not going to do that just yet. Just remember there was a clever trick with that. So I'm going to hold off on gluing that on, adding that on. And I'm going to, let's stick this down first. So up to you whether you want like one at the top or at the bottom, whichever angle you want. And then to secure this, I'm going to use a wet glue, because we've got the different levels of the tape. I don't think a double-sided tape would work very well on this, so I'm going to use this, which is Glossy Accents, which is like works as a clear glue. It's designed to add sort of little embellishments and sort of make things shiny, but it also works as a very good strong glue. So I'm going to put some over the thread. Quite generous. Turn that over. Add that onto the centre of the card. And that will just take a few moments to cure. Just going to hold it in place. This is when I'll probably put my phone on top of it to weigh it down, but my phone is filming, so I'll just hold it. And then, so for each of the cherry blossoms, I want the two of the buds, I want that lifted into the air, but I want the back flat. So what I'm going to do is add a foam pad to the front of each one. Is it 1 or 2 I added? Should we just do 1? Yeah, just add 1. enough space to put 2 on if you wish. So keep the other side of the backing paper on. I don't want them to be sticky just yet. So we're going to do some experimenting with the layout first. Actually, let's do the central bit. So what I'm going to do is add, so we know how big that is on there, and I'm going to add the foam pads to here. So I'm going to go one in the centre and then one out each direction, so that keeps it off the thread and helps keep the hold the circle down onto the card as well. In fact, I might just do a double layer in the middle, because it is, I think the thickness of the thread does lift up. I don't want it to look like the centre of the greeting is pulled down, so I'm just going to put 2 layers on there and add that on top. Make sure it's the right way around. Go. Okay, now I'm going to experiment with how I lay these out. So this will be slightly different depending on how close you've cut them out, how much sort of space is around, and also just how tight you want it. So obviously you can, I was at one point I was planning on having it with five ones, but it was just too hit and miss whether you'd have enough space for 5, whereas 6 you should definitely have enough space, so you can control whether it's slightly bigger or slightly smaller depending on how much they overlap. But what I'm looking to do is, if you have a look at this design, so it's curling in, so imagine if you look at this black stick and that into that bud, it curves round, and I'm trying to get that curve onto the edge of that circle. And if I follow that logic all the way around with the bud overlapping on that flower, there should be enough space all the way around. So you need to, you don't want to stick them too far over and then discover partway around that you haven't got enough to do the full circle. So make sure you lay them out and get a feel for how close they should be. And it's up to you. You don't actually have to do the full circle. You could just have a couple of decorative ones on one corner, and then you could cut out a few of the actual cherry blossoms or use them for something else. That's entirely up to you. So I'm going to show you how I put these all together. So again, I'm just going to lay them out again, just make sure I'm happy with that. So I think excellent. Okay, so the first one I'm going to do, I'll take this one, and I am going to add some wet glue to the back part of this one, because I want the end of the stick to be stuck flat down onto the circle. But what I'm not going to do, I'm not going to take the backing off of this one, just for the first one, so that when we go round for the full circle we can still stick that onto the one above. So I'm going to add that, so aiming to get the curve of the stick along the circle. And then the next one, I'm going to add glue onto the back, so let's do it here, glue onto the end, and I'm going to peel off the backing for that one. This glue just takes a moment or two to not to dry, but to cure slightly, and then otherwise it's very liquid and runny, and we'll just go ooze out the sides and make a mess. So I'm going to add that on there and aim just to that bud to tickle the first flower on there. I'm just going to hold that, actually landed on the embroidery thread, so I'm just going to hold that down because it'll be a bit more difficult to stick on there, but once you've got the other ones on it will hold it. Let me multitask. Add some glue onto the back of this one. Take off the backing. It's not wanting to stay on its own, so I'm going to have to stick the next one on. Okay. That's better. So keep repeating this all the way around. So at any point, if you're unsure about the spacing, you can just lay out the other ones on and check that you've got enough space to do all of them. I think that tickling the first flower is just right. I think I've probably got a little bit more space. I want to overlap a little bit more for these ones. So this is the last one to go on, so I'll do it as normal, add the glue and peel off the backing for that one. And then I'm just going to lift that gently and place that down. Just hold that down, glue, it's on the embroidery thread, a bit more reluctant. And I'm going to gently pull this up and peel off the backing with foam pads and lay it back down to create that cascade that goes all the way around. And there we have it. There's our mystery kit for today's craft along. I hope you enjoyed that. Let's put the lid back on my glue. So that is the mystery kit for today. If you're watching this along, as I say, live or near live, so it's May 23, and I'll have this kit available as a limited edition on my website for the next. Well, I think I've got 6 of them available, and then for the next few days. Yes, there won't be any instructions, it will just be this video. That's why it's not going to become a normal kit on my website, but there's plenty of other designs if you want to have a go. There's other designs with pro markers included. There's one that has 4 different pro markers to make 4 cards in different colours, which is a lot of fun. So yes, please do have a look at my Facebook and Instagram pages. We've got some competitions and fun and games going on there today. So yes, do drop by, and I hope to see you again soon.